All right, 4:15 showing on a Sunday, day one of NAB. So here we go. A lot of energy. So at first, it's exciting. Somebody who's been at NAB many times, it's great to be back here in person. For those, so thanks for attending. Yeah, virtually. Anecdotally, I went over a couple months ago. I went to the AI Summit in Santa Clara, and half of my panelists were remote. So I show up, and actually the people on my panel were still remote. So I'm glad we're somewhat back to normal now. Real quick, I just want to go over a little bit about who Veritone is. I'm going to obviously be talking a lot about what our view of the metaverse is to our media and entertainment companies and partners and clients. But Veritone, we've been around since 2015. We're about 700 employees. We service all different types of media and entertainment customers for AI-based workflows, and also data indexing and data analysis. We've also have some great practices in the federal government, in the DoD, and we also do a lot of work in the energy market. So today, obviously, we're at NAB. We're going to talk about how we've been applying our technology stack to media and entertainment, and specifically, what is our view and what is Veritone specifically doing for all things metaverse. So, the metaverse. Obviously, the neutron bomb was dropped. For all of us who grew up in gaming, we've been kind of playing with these 3D immersive worlds and massively multiplayer online game environments for a long time. But I think really with the COVID, I think was another accelerant for all things metaverse. We all know the Zoom effect, right? Working from home, the virtual offices, teleconferencing. I think the metaverse had definitely a strong rebirth or more attention focus to it, because simply now I don't want to just have, let's say, a two-dimensional relationship or experience with who I'm talking to. I want to go full immersion. I want to be sitting and have some type of spatial awareness of somebody sitting next to me in like an office space. So I think because of COVID and obviously the efforts of and the growth of social media, I think you obviously was an impetus for Meta and other groups to really focus on frankly the metaverse. What can we do next in a more immersive environment? So the metaverse, from my view, has been around for a long time, right? I just think that it's for me, it's a different level, an arbitrary level of immersion. I personally feel that I have, if I'm, let's say, my clan is a Discord clan, right? So the community, one of the communication protocols for the gaming or creator community. I can maintain community with my Discord clan right now on my phone. I don't have to be playing World of Warcraft with an Oculus Rift on to experience that. So my point is, for a lot of established brands and content companies, the metaverse should be viewed, in my mind today, as a gradual extension of your products and your brands, not something that's binary, right? And I think also, as people are thinking about the metaverse, you're going to hear this several times throughout my presentation today, but it's community first, right? The Web3, there's one thing for, there's all these terms of blockchain, getting some feedback, but there's, blockchain and all these new technologies. For me, and in my view, the Web3 economy and ecosystem and the metaverse is really about community versus like an audience. Okay, so the people who are producing the content, the digital influencer, the rock star, they are no longer just preaching from a stage. I'm sitting down there with you because you are basically an owner, you're a seller, you're my partner, right? And that's how I kind of view Web3. That is a big change for companies, right, to think about, okay? It's a whole nother level of intimacy with your audience or your community or customer base. But that all being said, everybody's throwing money at this thing, right? So if you look at Barron's reports or different, financial bulge bracket banks, and when they're trying to estimate the size of quote unquote the metaverse, let's just say that we're talking about trillions of dollars, right, at some point in the future. But again, you've heard me clear, I think it's a gradual progression of kind of us all laying the groundwork that's leading up to this point. So, in the metaverse, specifically for the two big constituent groups that we're trying to service, which are digital influencers or just influencers in general, the creator economy, and content IP owners. Right, these are like the Masters golf tournaments. This is the NCAA. It's CBS News. What do they need to be thinking about when they are making decisions on what we want to do with the metaverse? Do we want to go out and build an NFT storefront tomorrow? Right, seems like everybody has, right? But why are they doing that? Okay, do they want to buy land right? And they want to have CBS Land, for example, or they want to build have the Masters golf tournament and Augusta in a world. Sure, they can do it, but why are they doing that, right? So I still think fundamentally for our groups is, if you have an established brand, please don't cut off and sacrifice what you knew got you here in the first place. Like, meaning you know who your audience is in, like, I'll say a Web 2 or even a kind of a linear broadcast environment. That should be your baseline. You should always be looking at what I'm trying to do in more of a 3D immersive world. Am I trying to extend my brand, or am I actually trying to say my average demographic is a 65-year-old male who's watching sports, right, primarily on linear television. Does it really make a lot of sense for them to go all in and buying property, right, in Horizon or in another, sandbox digital world? So again, the metaverse will allow them to do a lot of amazing things. Take a level of engagement and really spawn and nurture intimacy with their audience and their community to a whole nother level. But it takes that much more effort to really manage that. They need to understand what that means. Whatever we've seen back, how brands can get persecuted in Web 2.0 and social media, it's going to be a whole another level. And so you need to think about the negative consequences, right? When people are now not just can be providing comments, but they can, in effect, sell your NFTs, right? There's a whole nother arbitrary negative impact if you don't have a great, clear strategy on the metaverse and what you want to do there. It is a more immersive environment. So for certain types of brands, you're not just walking in and looking at a 2D photo or a print, ad. It's sight and sound, right? Eventually, we're going to have smell, as we all know. You've seen, eventually you're going to be wearing suits in your room, in your helmet. You're going to be having an olfactory sense as well. You need to think about this does your brand, is it conducive to a 3D immersive world, right? For those who choose to experience your brand in a world, are they going to be looking at a screen, or are they going to be wearing full Oculus Rift and a haptic suit that they can actually feel things? So again, think of what are you trying to communicate, and you also think you have to think in multi-senses now. What are audiences expecting? So the digital avatar, again, going back to the gaming community, for those who have played video games forever, the non-player character, the NPC, has been around for a long time, right? Almost every game would be very shallow if there wasn't a lot of, I'll call it, crude AI-based characters involved in the games already. This is just going to get heightened more and more and more. So when people are expecting to go into these 3D immersive worlds, they're expecting interactivity, they're expecting community, and they're also expecting to be able to communicate to other people, right? I'll say in real life, real humans. But there also is an expectation that even the engagement with non-player-based characters, I'll say pure AI-driven bots and avatars, is going to have to up its game too, right? So meaning it's almost going to be a blurring between who Ryan Steelberg is playing with, my buddy, right, who I go to school with, as compared to expanding my clan actually with MP or other digital humans or other avatars. So I think, meaning brands and others, they need to start thinking in a digital twin type of environment. So it's not just individuals playing, but I'd say persistent avatar or AI-based voices and avatars, that they're going to be persistent in these worlds, even if they're not being driven by a human. Okay, so I think people need to think about what does it mean to be a participant in these worlds? Does it always have to be humans driving the interactivity, or are companies also going to have to invest in managing, if you will, a fleet of digital humans, digital avatars, right, to extend their reach and to extend the engagement with fans? Two areas that we're focusing on with, again, our digital influencer customers and our media and entertainment customers is really focusing initially on voice and avatars. And when I say voice, is really focusing on synthetic created voices. So we'll call either voice clones. So it's somebody of notoriety or fame. It's an existing brand that we're creating a hyper-realistic version of their voice. I would say on the derogatory term, obviously, is a deep fake, right? So what I like to say is this is the approved version, that I'm getting the rights from a Vin Scully or an actor or an actress or a YouTuber, and I'm getting their expressed consent, both verbally and in writing, to produce their voice. But then also the avatar, right? Does it make sense for brands to invest in a brand new persona to represent their brand in the 3D world, or do they want to create a hyper-realistic version of Elon Musk? Because Elon Musk wants to meet every single person, right, that's applying to Tesla. So again, this is possible now. It is possible for us to very cost effectively to create hundreds of very hyper-realistic human-like voices that we can drive through text-to-speech or even speech-to-speech. What I mean by speech-to-speech is I can create a great version of a voice model, and just because I can't capture like the tone and inflection of trying to manipulate the text-to-speech input, I can have a human voice it, meaning I'm speaking and out is coming Tom Hanks's voice, right? But just like a voiceover actor, I can make that experience like just amazing and dynamic. So that is a pillar. So almost every one of our customers, we're really looking at the content that they produce. Can we isolate the audio and a lot of the talent that they've invested in, with obviously the talent's permission, to create synthetic versions of the talent's voices and to service, I'm going to go through some use cases in the end, for a multiple of use cases. Localization, dubbing, post-production, editing. We're going to go through a lot of those. And then the second category that we're really focusing on is avatars. Avatars has we're taking a much more cautious approach with our customers on avatars than we are with voice. Voices are extensible and they're almost ubiquitous, meaning it is our impression in our research that people want a hyper-realistic voice. We don't like to consume and listen to robotic voices. So in these worlds, in these games, we want hyper-realistic voices. Avatars, the perception from the community, the audience, is all over the map. Some people may find, actually, if you show up to a website and it's a customer service avatar speaking to you, they may find a hyper-realistic version digital human almost creepy or offensive, right? Or they want to have the more pixelated Fortnite-looking character as the person they're engaging with, right? So consumers, the community, the audience, it has a much more arbitrary reaction to a visual avatar. Thus, getting back to brands need to think about that, right? Just don't take your CEO and I'm going to show you a picture of my brother, right, later. And when we did that, it was really interesting that you got some very extreme reactions. They loved the voice, thought it was amazing, and it's pretty consistent. But the avatar, you need to understand, based upon what you're trying to achieve, do you want to use a hyper-realistic, photorealistic avatar, or do you think it makes sense to have something that's more pixelated, right, depending on who your audience is? But again, almost every one of our customers, thankfully, because we've been sort of ingesting and indexing all of their content now for many of our customers for years, we're sitting on tons of training data. When I mean training data, we're actually using the audio and video I have from an iHeart or an Odyssey and others to isolate the voices to actually create. So I don't have to start from scratch, right? So it's been a great experience us working with some of our legacy customers where I already have all this training data. So some of the things that people need to think about. Brand continuity is critical. I'm going to keep going back to this again. Do not think that you're looking at the metaverse starting from scratch. There has to be a continuity and over the entire lifespan of your content and your audience. If I have a successful show that's making all my money through live events or on linear television, you need to think about a progression and a continuity with and into the metaverse. It is not a brand new experience for that brand. You cannot alienate your previous audience, okay? You heard a lot about that, the NFT show. I participated at the NFT LA show, and it keep coming. Some of these big failures you're starting to read about is they're forgetting where they came from. They're literally completely abandoning their original audience. So that's something to consider. So again, if you're looking at continuity from your advertising commercials all the way to your customer service, what you're doing on radio, what you're doing on TV, what you're doing on websites, in games, obviously in the metaverse, there should be continuity of your brand there, right? And in continuity may include that consistent voice, right? That consistent avatar. And that's the kind of exciting things we can do. But we do believe it needs to go from in real life, RIL, to the metaverse with continuity. Just 4 ways, and there's a bunch of different ways that rights holders can monetize in the metaverse. NFTs, right? So we've all heard of NFTs. If you haven't, go buy some, right? Even if the prices are falling, wait, there's their discount, but get exposure to what an NFT is. And in effect, if we're creating the potential for scarcity or control in a digital world. I think we've all been reading about the phenomena about these GIFs and JPEGs and other pieces of digital works that are selling for millions of dollars, many of which now are worth pennies, right? NFTs, it absolutely is an opportunity that every brand should think about it. Does it make sense? For many of us, we think NFTs are kind of like the baseball cards of the future, right? It's just a tradie proxy. But NFTs, and truly what these fungible tokens can do, they can also be viewed as social tokens or access tokens. Don't just think of an NFT as something you buy and sell about your content, your content assets and imagery and video clips, but think of NFTs as a reliable, fungible token that can provide access, can provide more. So imagine if I purchase an NFT from the masters through their marketplace. When I go into a 3D immersive world, because I'm a token holder, I get exclusive content, or that I can add experiences to go on site and have a private virtual golf lesson, right, from a pro. Continuity, or I'll say the community-based activations that NFTs support will be critical, right? So we're actually in our work with the Pac-12 and other groups that we've done some NFT deals already. We're really encouraging them to think that the end product is not the NFT market sell, buying and selling it. It's how you're activating and extending the continuity with the customer base. Okay, virtual products. Again, depending on what type of brand you have, some people are actually selling, as you guys know, shoes, completely digital shoes in an ecosystem. There will be, depending on what type of brand there is, virtual goods and virtual products is a real thing, right? There's a real commerce. Just a question again is depending on who you are, what your brands are, what product or solution you're selling. Does it make sense for you to have your own commerce-based initiatives in the virtual world? VIP experiences and shopping experiences. We kind of touched on that before. The metaverse provides a great opportunity to customize and personalize experiences for your community and your brand. If you want to go deep into, if Gucci is making a huge push, obviously, in all things metaverse, and they're really trying to provide extravagant virtual experiences for people who are spending that much money and buying their goods offline, and they're trying to extend that. So the metaverse can afford these brands relatively cost effectively to go really deep with their customers and really introduce just amazing, unique, and exclusive experiences. And lastly, licensing. Licensing, some of you may have seen during the Black History Month, and when they presented the Martin Luther King content, they actually did a huge integration on the March on Washington, I Have a Dream speech with and into Fortnite. So the linear content was showing up inside the game. They're a client. CBS News is a client of ours, and so we helped activate that content to be actually distributed and streamed or activated inside the Fortnite game, which is just cool. So don't think of it as binary. Think of this seamless blending between linear and I'll say offline content with and into the metaverse. If we did it today, ironically, we would expect maybe if I had an NFT and I went through that same experience, well, Dr. Martin Luther King jumps out of the linear program as an avatar and I can engage with them. So think of it like that. We could take it to a whole nother level. But we're doing a lot of licensing work, again, taking traditional content, right, legacy content, and licensing it. And you're seeing it already. Anybody who's played Call of Duty, and you're seeing some of this archival content, just like footage is licensed into movies and other types of content, you're seeing licensed content now showing up and being integrated into these 3D immersive worlds. I'm going to speed up a little bit. We're going going in a lot of detail here, but again, this whole thing about the metaverse, really, what excites me the most is having the ability to have identity integrity and content and object integrity. This is a chance where I will be able to own my own identity, my own identity in a blockchain type of decentralized world where it's not dominated by one group, right? So there's one thing that we are very supportive is looking at a decentralized, right, open economy for the metaverse that won't be dominated by 4 big hyperscaler companies, right? our entire metaverse world should not and hopefully will not be dominated by just Meta, for example, right? We look at it as I should be able to take my identity and own my identity and be able to jump in and out of these thousands of different worlds that are popping up. So I think there's some core staples in it. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit and get to some of the demos here. Here's a little sizzle reel, I believe. How do I activate this? Welcome to Veriverse. I am the digital clone of Ryan Steelberg, president and co-founder of Veritone. This audio was generated with Ryan Steelberg's express permission. Enterprise AI for the Metaverse. Veriverse enables you to securely create synthetic media, protect your identity and assets, and safely mint and sell NFTs. Securely and ethically create ultra-realistic voices with Veritone Voice for lifelike experiences in traditional channels and the Metaverse. Conquer new worlds with Metaverse-ready avatars using Veritone Avatar. Humanize the digital experience. With Veritone Verify, manage and protect digital assets in both real and digitally immersive worlds. Protect against misappropriation and ensure continuity for all assets under management. Step confidently into the Metaverse. Veritone NFT enables Veritone clients to create and trade authentic, verified NFTs while providing added security for intellectual property. Veritone Metaverse Migration Services helps you define your readiness, map your entry, and execute your migration to the Metaverse, focusing on the opportunities most relevant and valuable to your brand today. Succeed in the Metaverse with Veritone, enterprise AI for the Metaverse. So you heard me talking, it's not bad, right? I mean, that was my voice and that was pure text to speech. So I gave my consent to my marketing team, and they had full use of our text editor, right, to make that sound, tone and inflection sound great. For some of you say, well, that didn't sound just like you. It was maybe a little bit too robotic, right? Well, that could have been voiced by you, somebody in the audience. You could have been driving my voice, right, and capture that tone and inflection easier. So just think about that. The beauty of that is just the cost and efficiency that I didn't have to get in a studio again to cut that, right? So now take that same use case and think about movie production, right? No longer are you going to have to try to get Tom Hanks back into the studio to do post-production editing, for his voice at least, right? So you're going to be able to you're going to get great extensibility there. Welcome to all right. So our portfolio, again, in all the different opportunities of the Metaverse, is we're really focusing on synthetic voice, which is Veritone Voice, the avatars, which I mentioned, Verify, which you saw in the video, just to touch on. But what we do is depending on whether it's for the voice, protection of the IP is a staple of everything we do. Our job for a lot of our content groups is not just to license their content for them to generate more revenue. Our job is to also police that if it's misappropriated, if it's ripped off by a YouTuber and posted everywhere. So when we're creating these digital voices, we're actually embedding inaudible tokens or markers inside the audio so we can go debunk or validate that voice came from us, okay? We can actually map back all the way to the training data. So we keep all the training data. It's amazing the nuances of the original training data. You can really map to see if it's part of the output of the synthetic voice. So that's another service that we kind of offer. NFTs. We do build our own and host and manage our own marketplaces for our customers. Or if we feel that there's a better platform out there, we will simply be a consultant. So for example, the OpenSeas of the world, the Recurs in sports. We've done deals between our content groups and even third-party NFT marketplaces. So again, our position as it relates to NFTs is if we have a great strategy working with a customer, by all means, let's go set up a storefront. Let's go get exposure and let's try to start selling these things. And then lastly, migration services is the consulting side. This is messy and confusing. Every customer in my mind is different, particularly for these big brands. The Masters Golf Tournament is radically different than CBS, and it's radically different than a YouTuber's got 20 million subscribers. They need to be there needs to be a unique, customized, and personalized metaverse journey for all these different brands, right? So they could, some may include synthetic voice, some may include NFTs, or we may advise and highly advise them against some of these strategies. So again, the point is each brand needs to be evaluated and analyzed differently. And also, they need to make some tough decisions of what they're trying to, and be realistic of what they're trying to achieve in the metaverse. Let's see if it showed things. What else can I show you guys?
So you reach deep in.
So I think, let me just show you a few different examples. Here's a copy of my real voice, and then I'll show you examples using
So you
TTS.
reach deep into your pocket. Sure enough, you have an extra velament. So you look directly at Bob and say, would anyone else like a velament? Velaments. Good breath, good day.
Do you mind turning that up if you have any volume? And then here we'll play that as text-to-speech. That was my real voice before.
So you reach deep into your pocket. Sure enough, you have an extra velament. So you look directly at Bob and say, would anyone else like a velament? Velaments. Good breath, good day.
So now we'll do that same one in my voice, but in Spanish.
La Patagonia es una región en Sudamérica compartida por Chile y Argentina. Tiene montañas, glaciares, lagos y otras características maravillosas. Es una región increíble. En la Patagonia, como en la lengua española, siempre hay algo nuevo para descubrir.
That sort of introduces another use case is, I would say, highly accurate mass localization, right, in different languages. Take a podcast, right, transcribe it, right, from English into the transcript, then you translate the transcription file, and then I can actually run that through a language model to produce that podcast, if you will, into 30 different languages, right? So your ability to extend it, but it's still in my voice, right? We quickly see a world where when you're doing a voiceover of a famous actor into German, it's no longer going to be a brand new person. It's going to be Brad Pitt's real voice speaking in German, right? And that's available now. So localization and dubbing is a major area of activation for our voice-related services. And then lastly, I'm just giving you an example of this is pretty interesting. It's using my voice, but turning it programmatically into a female's voice.
So you reach deep into your pocket. Sure enough, you have an extra velament. So you look directly at Bob and say, would anyone else like a velament? Velaments. Good breath, good day.
So that's me speaking with my voice, and the output is her voice. So that was a speech-to-speech model, right? So that one's good. So think about that. Is again, this is for I like to say if you're doing a one-to-many or you want to replace broadcast quality with tone and inflection, right? If there's some of these big names, then how they say things is so important. It may make sense to use a speech-to-speech model versus a text-to-speech model. Okay.
So you reach deep into your pocket.
So you reach deep into your pocket. There we go. So lastly, I'll kind of finish with this on the avatar side. This is my brother, Chad. He's my co-partner in this company. So we created a digital avatar of him, right? We actually introduced this about a year ago, and it's really interesting, the reaction, right? Everybody loved the voice, understood the voice. The reaction was almost binary. Some people, it freaked them out seeing the digital avatar, right? Other people immediately said, oh, I get it. I get the continuity, right? But again, just to show you what is the art of the possible, watch a short little video that shows some more, I'll say, pixelated versions of avatars, and then we'll roll right into, and you guys will see what Chad looks like.
Happy Saturday, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Sports with Benz. I'm kicking off today's episode with the big news that the Madison Twisters head coach has officially announced his retirement. We will get into that and Monday's game predictions, coming up next.
Welcome to the latest episode of Total Recall. We have a killer podcast for you today with our guest, an award-winning actor, producer, and writer. She has it all, but it's been a journey to get there. I can't wait to share her story with you and recap the latest in the industry, with of course my Total Recall take on each moment.
Hi there. I am the verified digital clone of Chad Steelberg, CEO and co-founder of Veritone. Conquer new worlds with metaverse-ready avatars that capture brand identity and individual likeness. With Veritone Avatar, you can create an ultra-realistic, custom 3D avatar that serves as an extension of your individual or brand identity. Are you ready to bring your marketing to life with AI-powered human avatars?
So anybody who's been in this space for a while, you're seeing how quickly everything is advancing, right? Just a few years ago, right? If you watch that, probably you have a lot more opinions on what you just saw, right? Oh, the voice wasn't exactly matching up to the movement of the mouth, right? All these little things. there's a lot of companies, right, NVIDIA and the Omniverse and Unreal Engines and Unity trying to get better synchronization models supported from the voice to the facial expressions. They're all going to be solved. So let's just say, so we're in a time thing. So in the next 3 to 5 years, it's literally going to be near perfect, right? So still goes back to the question is, what are you trying to achieve, right? If I did the same example and we showed some, I'll say Fortnite pixelated type of quality characters, right? What would your action be? We actually watch cartoons all the time where the mouth actually never is synchronized, right? The most popular TV show for children's right now is Cocomelon, right? The voice never even gets close to what they're saying. So again, just think about it. But this is what the art of the possible, from brand ambassadors to customer service experiences, right? If you want to either use a host of stock avatars, we and other companies have them ready to go. Or if you want to create your own proprietary, right, reproduce your CEO, or you guys want to create a fictional new persona, you can do that. They're built on rigs, so you don't need to get the actors and actresses to sit in 3D camera settings, right, to produce hours and hours of footage of every single angle anymore. It's getting a lot more efficient to create what we call rigs, to be able to create hyper-realistic avatars at a fraction of the cost and a lot less time, all right? Anyway, that's kind of my overview. I'm going to kind of skip IP protection and a few things. I know we went over the time. Just maybe open up the floor. You guys can ask any questions if you got any, and we can go in any direction you guys want. Yes, please. Yes. So when you say real time, so the voice is created, and then all I need to do is now feed it with the foreign language text. So the text editors support different languages. So it is in near real time. In near real time. So it's like one for one. I submit I upload the text document. You hit render, and again, depending on what service level you purchase, you can get it back almost in real time. Yeah. We do not create the worlds. Yeah. So think of us as we will help you deploy either the NFTs, the avatars, or the voices into the different worlds, right, that exist. Voices, just because we're primarily using standard MP3, the protocol is not that challenging. The avatar distribution is a lot more challenging, right, depending on the different worlds. But again, we are not a world creator. We are a management group to help migrate, control, and manage the different assets and identities into the different worlds. Any other questions? Well, thanks, guys. Yes. What's the difficulty? Well, actually, just going from my screen to there was actually a little bit of a time gap between the voice and what you saw on screen. So on my monitor, it's actually a lot closer. Okay, because I am trying to coordinate, right, and drive it. Most of the avatars, in terms of the facial structures, they're not reading the script. So the visual avatar is primarily moving its mouth for the most part based upon sound, right? Now they're getting more advanced with the TTML standards that I can better synchronize the voice to the actual transcript, and therefore the facial, so you're going to see very quickly significant improvements about the synchronization of the mouth to the audio, because I'm not just listening to the sound to drive the face, I'm synchronizing it to what you're actually saying. Yeah, sure. Any other questions? Thanks, guys. I can answer any other questions on the side. I'll be here for a while. Thanks.